I just want to say a quick thank you for all the support I've gotten since starting channel memberships, with people either signing up for the first time or switching over to channel memberships to get those sweet, sweet emojis, or people staying a patron but becoming channel members at the same time, leading to some new, interesting credit designs. You guys rule, and your support means more to me than you can possibly know. Not because you are helping make my show profitable, but because you believe in me enough to put your money on my dream of doing this for a living. Thank you so much. And real quick, it is weird how much love Unicron Trilogy Hotshot has gotten recently. He is the only UT character to have gotten a figure for every form that he had in the last 5 years. Hell, he's just about the only Unicron Trilogy character to have gotten 2 different figures, period. Outdoing even Megatron and Optimus now it's time to look at Legacy Cybertron Hotshot. But first, your likes. Please give and maybe subscribe. Oh my god, this thing sucks. I have seen people snap their spines in half to try and bend over backwards in order to like this thing. Oh, the stupid breakable ass window of clear plastic is accurate. This is so awesome. Oh, the shitty arm door windows are accurate, hanging down in the worst possible ways. This is so awesome. Oh, the proportions are terrible, just like in the show. This is so awesome. Guys, look. Sometimes accuracy isn't a good thing. Sometimes accuracy just turns a figure into a hideous clusterfuck for whom every second they exist is pure agony. The colors could make this thing cool in a really gaudy way, but the fucking kibble of this tortured abomination desperate for the sweet release of oblivion wouldn't actually be enough to ruin it. No, really, I could get over all that really easily if it were this thing's only fault. Unfortunately, he's built like what would happen if Dr. Frankenstein got really drunk one night and decided that he wanted to see what he could make out of all the garbage body parts he didn't have use for in the normal monster. Then that wasn't enough to finish it, so he just incorporated a push broom that he found in the corner of the room to form the shoulders. Oh my god, what is this? His shoulders are connected to the tops of his collarbones at an acute angle corner to corner, then they bend inwards towards his head, which then leads to a first bicep, that then leads into a second extra long bicep, that leads to an exceedingly short forearm, and then all of that is covered in kibble, which amazingly is actually improving the look of this horrible chain of joints, because when they're off, there's even less mass in the forearms, and the first set of biceps still has a tire joint in them. He has all of this extra bulk in his upper arms, and he still manages to look about as weedy as a kid wearing a pocket protector in a 50s movie called Hermville or something like that. Oh, and did I mention that this thing has a horrible time trying to stand? Over half of each foot is actually on a weak friction joint that tilts up, and the plastic around them wants to squeeze them back out, meaning that for all intents and purposes, this thing's already 2 small feet, don't have a toe, so he just tries to faceplant like he's straight out of an ASDF movie. I have one nice thing to say about this alt mode, and that is that his chest is painted very well. I can see this torso on a much better figure, but that is the only part of this figure that looks good. And look, I am nowhere near as afraid of clear plastic as other people are. I think it can be fine, but I'm not going to lie and say that my ass doesn't completely pucker every single time I have to fold the window up. This is a joint that's like it was designed to break clear plastic like a nutcracker, and it doesn't help that there is some paint right there to be damaged as well. Like, this is really thin and the joint is very tight. I have to hand it to them, there is no bleed through on the paint, but that won't matter if at some point this shears in half. The backpack also doesn't hold place very securely, it's just a little irritating. There is absolutely nothing good to go over about with this thing. It's also limp, and I get that this is technically accurate to a fault, but at the same time, no, because the design from the show managed to at least come off as swole, while this thing looks like it would have trouble cleaning its ears because it can't lift the Q-tip. And somehow the head manages to get some of the worst of it. In person, it's got like these chubby cheeks that just make him look so unserious, and the expression is extremely unimpressive. But then you look at the actual show model and you realize that this is extremely inaccurate. This just isn't even recognizable as his head shape. Honestly, this looks like a dude with a completely incompatible skull, cosplaying as the dude with a 4 out of 10 replica helmet. Like, all this has is the correct colors and core details, but it fine-tuned absolutely nothing. So the robot mode is a sin, a hideous freak chud of a thing that is both accurate to a design that desperately needed liberties taken to not suck, and then all the liberties taken were exclusively to make it suck worse. This is a figure that doesn't look enough like a human to be used for a voodoo curse. And if that weren't enough, the feet make standing it a savage pain in the ass, the clear plastic feels it's significantly more threat than normal, which for a lot of people will be a deal breaker, and then the way that the shoulders tilt in slightly really pisses off OCD man. There is no triumphant flying away, there is only sullen walking off. And obviously the accessories aren't going to help. But they sure are trying. I don't know, I find something charming about this transparent pea shooter that looks like a plastic ukulele that he stuck a paper towel roll over the neck of. It's cute, it's non-threatening, it does have the crystal figure effect where my lizard brain just wants to stare at it, it's fine. And even better is the Cyber Planet key, which is cast in the clear yellow of everything else, but then internally was painted red, leading to a cool effect where it changes colors as you turn it over in your hands. This is mesmerizing in the best ways possible, like looking at foil stickers as a kid, and it makes me go, kind of maybe shiny thing good. So the accessories so far are the best part of this figure, which is kind of a problem. That's not something that you should really ever have a reason to say, even if the figure comes with a ton. And this is just a regular gun and a simple piece of plastic meant to look like a thing that actually used to do something, that just happens to be painted in really nice colors. Oh, and is missing paint that the original version would have had. So actual fans are going to be displeased about it, even if I think it looks way better for it. Posability is below average, though the head is pretty good. It's got way more side to side than normal, a full rotation. If you untransform it, you get maximum up, though it's not exactly useful stuffed inside the backpack, and also some neck slide for some action. Lower shoulder has to bend in to reach the side, then can only come out about 30 degrees degrees, which you then have to hot rod shoulder out to the side to get significantly less than a 90, honestly, you should probably just leave them completely rocked in like that, as it makes the figure have more normal proportions and could even potentially be considered an aesthetic choice as opposed to a mistake. Elbows below 90, parts forming for mafia elbows, also parts forming for wrist swivel. Hips are hyper unimpeded forwards, unimpeded to the side, and very impeded back, normal 90 knees, and feet with a large rocker and a large toe up that's hopelessly weak. So yes, posability is awful. The head is kind of amazing, but at its best, the rest of it is normal. The arms are the worst culprit, having so much less range than you want, and needing to parts form for the wrist swivel to be of much use since it's so choked with kibble. But the feet might actually be the most generally frustrating part just because of how hard it makes it for him to stand. Then this unbearable figure's transformation is actually solid fun. I mean, it's a little on the simple side, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do with this flap. It goes equally well folded or not, but everything slips together cleanly and snugly. They'll make sure that you have the roof set down first before you try to get the arms there, and the pegs on the doors are a little aggressive. They can get stuck, but otherwise this is fast, clean, and fun. And you wind up with this absolutely glorious piece of early 2000s cheese. Yes, I know it came out in 2005, which would be the midpoint, but it aired on January 8th. This was designed in 2004 or earlier, so yes, early 2000s. And this is just kind of nostalgic for that era. Not by me per se, because I always thought the color scheme of the early aughts was kind of hideous, but it does deeply remind me of my childhood nonetheless. Or I guess my early teenhood. The desaturated pearlescent water blue, the sickly yellow bordering on a shade of green, the burgundy accent colors and silver trim. Yep, that's what 2003 looked like. This is as of its era as it gets, and that is charming in its own way. It's also very cohesive, it barely looks like it transforms. I mean, that's probably because the entire top of the car is just the unmodified backpack folding up in literally no way. It does have this gimmick where these little fins splay out, and is this supposed to fly? Because I foresee this taking to the air about as well as something made by a company called Skygate. I also can't help but feel like the feet are supposed to be folded up in the back here to give the rear this shape and some kind of extended engine or something. This rolls okay, but it is a little rough, and it wants to stop pretty quickly for a sports car, but the best part of this figure is easily the transformation in the alt mode, and it's not even close. And honestly, this has so much in common with Legacy Point Blank, it's like its inbred cousin sibling who managed to get just a couple of the better genes between the two. Like Point Blank was a hideous mutant figure with proportions out of a horror movie and articulation hampered by the body in the weirdest ways possible, elbows that bent further backwards, and a good transformation that was pretty fun with a couple parts that could pop off during it, and an alt mode that was kind of a weird 80s future car that wasn't great with an extra bit jutting off the back. And Cybertron Hotshot is a repulsive abomination of a figure with proportions like a cryptid and articulation afflicted by the body and the kibble in the most infuriating ways possible. Elbows that bend exactly as far back as they do forward, and a transformation that's pretty fun where the doors have the capacity to pop off while doing it, and an alt mode that's an early 2000s future car with an extra bit that can jut off the back. Like, this is the uncle from the same mother, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And I can safely say that this is not a figure that you need in your collection unless you are a Unicron Trilogy superfan. There are parts that I enjoy about this thing, but they are few and far between. Transformation is pretty fun, but I got plenty of Transformers with fun conversions, and they are typically better in all other ways too. Legacy done ripped another giant fart and sold it to us for more money than it's worth, but at least it feels like this time it's because they were completely incompetent. Like, I don't think they were trying to cheat us, I think they're just idiots. And before we go, let's thank someone who gives me monies. Yeah, I still need to work on that. Like, a lot. And this time it's Hypertech116 with Kingdom Warpath. It has been so much fun to see what Kingdom Warpath did to you, my friend. You went from a guy who was like, yeah, I like your videos, but I don't think I really need the Transformers in my life. I buy these super underground figures for super cheap that you probably never heard of, to grabbing this guy and going, I need more Transformers! More! More! And you know what? I can see why this made you a true fan, because it's a great design that's tons of fun. A robust little brick of a dude that's about the same color as one too. I've seen how much paint you've worn off the arms with yours, and I get why. It's just so much fun to play with. It's got a good transformation, though you should probably clip off at least one of its tabs, and then it's got one of the best little tank modes out there. It turned you into a true Transformers fan, and I'm so happy it did, and that you've shared your journey with me. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.